welcome to another edition of Potluck, your everything and anything talk and entertainment TV show. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am your host. Today we have a very special guest joining us from Thaxton, Virginia, and she owns and started a program called at the Amethyst Center. Please welcome to the show Azurae Windwalker, who is a shamanic practitioner. Welcome to the show, Azurae.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Laura.
It's a pleasure to have you. So tell us, people are probably wondering what the Amethyst Center is and how you got started.
Okay. The Amethyst Center was originally the family farm that my mother bought in 1947, where my grandfather and grandmother lived. And we're kind of uniquely situated on a mountain that has a lot of healing energy in it. We're not very far from the Peaks of Otter and the Blue Ridge Parkway. And when I first moved there about 17 years ago to take care of my mom, the place was totally asleep. There weren't very many birds that sing, and there weren't very many animals there. Mm-hmm. And when I lived in Nashville, I was one of the ceremonial leaders and the council pipe carrier for the CATS, Native American Medicine Society. It's spelled XAT. And so when I came to Virginia, I started a cycle of ceremonies and found people who were interested in doing the fall harvest ceremony and the spring ceremonies, which works with the spirit of nature for healing and for appreciation of the spirit of nature. And then slowly but surely, nature responded, and so now the place flourishes. The plants and the trees and the animals and what people call the little people, fairy folk. The place is just totally alive, and I conduct workshops there for working with the spirit of nature and practical shamanism, and people come to learn how to really get energized and heal from what nature has to offer, which is the ultimate healing tool.
Okay, great. So was this a calling for you since you were like little to do healings?
I think people are who they are. And a number of years ago, Mama showed me a picture of me running down the sidewalk, and the picture was taken from the back. And I said, "Well, Mama, why'd you do that?" And she says, "Well, we thought it was real funny. You said you were chasing a ghost away," and I was 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Uh-huh.
And the folks that helped raise me, Daddy Powers had MS, and he was the kind of person that if he had known that he had MS, he would have died very quickly. So we kind of kept that from him, but we always held the vision that he was well, and he lived, although the doctor said he wouldn't, he lived to be 90-some years old.
Oh, wow.
In pretty good health. So I got started out by healing through prayer and just holding a consciousness and a focus on somebody being back in the perfected stage of health.
Okay.
From small.
Right. Now, for people that don't know about like what is natural healing all about, can you give a little brief description so they can better understand? Like,
well, there's in alternative healing, there's all kinds of healers out there. A lot of people may know about Reiki. When I moved to Nashville, I always wanted to know about my Native American ancestry, but there wasn't really anybody around that would talk about it. And I found the group, the CATS Native American Medicine Society, which was a church in the state of Tennessee.
Okay.
And apprenticed with the medicine woman there for 7 years. And we work, what the shaman does is that we work in non-ordinary reality. I work with the healing angels. I work with the healing masters. I work with nature spirit, which can be anything from trees to rocks to the fairy folks and the little people who kind of vibrate at a higher dimension from us. And I work with the person's divine essence within themselves. So when I do a healing, they do most of the work, and I'm the person that grounds that energy in. And then it's my responsibility to hold the focus, like I did for Daddy Powers, that the person is back in the whole, complete, and perfect state of having the vision of that perfect health back in form.
Okay. Now, how long have you been doing this?
Oh, Lord, well, I think a few million years probably, but in this lifetime, probably about 35 or 40 years.
Okay, okay.
A long time.
And when you started out, you had mentors, I take it, that showed you the way, like with
that's
the
what I
that you were talking about.
that's what I got in the Medicine Society. But many children are born with certain gifts and intuition and ability to transfer energy and heal, transfer healing, and it gets ground out of them. And that didn't happen for me. The folks that helped raise me, my mother was a nurse that worked at night. And the lady that helped raise me, she was very intuitive, and she would know when somebody in her family was sick and call them up, and she made it okay to still be me. Okay. And I never got the intuitive part of myself. They never shut me up and say, "Oh no, you can't do that." It was okay.
Okay. Okay, great. So. Let's go backtrack to like the Amethyst Center.
Okay.
Okay. When you said that it's flourished. It's all of a sudden flourished after you, I guess, moved in and got yourself situated. And what was that like, seeing everything just open up? And did it feel like the land was coming alive, but it also felt like maybe you were coming alive too?
Yeah,
like,
because everybody gets nourishment and energy from where they live, and if where you live doesn't have very much life force energy in it, then you're not going to have very much life force either, because we gather our energy from the sun and we gather our energy from the earth. That's why people go to Sedona, and that's why people go to various places that have special energy, because people feel better. That's why people go to the beach, because the ocean makes negative ions as it goes up and down with the sand. And so my mother lived to be really old. My grandmother lived to be really old. And was, pretty healthy to the last 3 years. So it helps you stay healthier, and it helps you look younger. And that's one reason people like to go there. I don't have to do a thing. People just like to come to the land and drink the water that has all kinds of energy in it, and they just like to be there because it's so different from being in the city. You can see all the stars at night. People tell me as they go up the road, they can feel it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, do you have like a lot of amethyst on the, why do you call it the Amethyst Center?
The Amethyst Center? Well, there's a number of reasons. It can get pretty deep. It started out because we found out that there was low-grade amethyst that runs through the mountain. There's a lot of iron up there, as well as quartz. And when we had sweat lodges, these purple orbs would come in, and they are spiritual masters. Okay. And in the center of the Iroquois medicine wheel, and I have Cherokee ancestry as well as Nassaman and some Saponi ancestry, and Scotch-Irish, and typical Appalachian person. But the center of the Iroquois medicine wheel is purple. The amethyst cinder. In the center of the medicine wheel is the place of God or Great Spirit, or your divine center, the Christ consciousness within you. So there's a lot of different kind of metaphors for what the amethyst center is.
Okay, great. So how do people hear about or find out about the Amethyst Center, and do people make appointments to come or make reservations? Do they come and stay there overnight? And,
no, some people come and camp. We have a camper, but people stay other places. Mostly people come when I have workshops planned, or if I have an off weekend, people might just come and hang out, and I take private appointments. I have my schedule of workshops posted on my website, which is www.theamethystcenter.com, and it's AMETHYST center.com. And or people can call me up, and I'm pretty free during the week, but on weekends I'm usually traveling.
Okay, right. And you travel all around Virginia and other places, or?
I have 4 or 5 primary markets that I work in, and I have students and apprentices in each one of those areas. And one is here in Northern Virginia, and another one's in Charleston, West Virginia, and also near Roanoke, where I live, and Raleigh, North Carolina. And now and then I take little trips to Asheville and other places when I'm invited. But I have a regular schedule of classes. It's a series of 5, so that people can learn how to. We start out with disciplines of powering up with nature, with the sun, with the energy of the earth and the sky, and a breathing technique, a shielding technique from non-beneficial energy, clearing ways, and once you learn those, then we get into deeper things.
Okay. So this would be an ideal center for somebody who's been through a lot of maybe trauma or injury, or just somebody who wants to just get away and just, feel nature and feel themselves.
Somewhat. Mostly in my classes, I'm a teacher of teachers.
Okay.
And so I teach people who are pretty far along on the path many times, so that they can go out and share this with other people, because that's the best way to replicate what I've learned.
Okay.
And then there's other times that we do things where it's more like a rehabilitation thing, like you're saying about, so you have to kind of read the information to understand what's going on.
Okay. Now your students that you have, I understand you have a scholarship program, or you have?
Well, I'm working on that. There's a lot of people that I've taught who are very intuitive, they're good healers, they have the desire to do the work, and like the end result of all this training is that they learn how to be earth keepers and how to access the energy and send it to the places on earth where the earth is damaged and bring it back to health, just like you help a person do that.
Sure.
And a lot of those people don't have the money to go through the program, and they don't have the money at all to travel to these places that we go to in Ohio and California and various and sundry places. They don't have the money to travel. So I'm starting a foundation to provide scholarships to the people who have the talent and the gifts and the desire to do the work, but don't have the money to do it.
Sure. Now, for those who go through your program or your classes, what do they do from there? What is the desire for taking the class, or their end result, so they can move on to do what's next?
What has happened almost by accident, but I don't really believe there are any accidents, is that the students who have studied with me the longest time have kind of started their own classes and their own cycle of ceremonies that work with nature. And so, I mean, there are certain times, like summer solstice, or for instance, we've done healing ceremonies when there has been big natural disasters like Katrina, or when they had the big tsunami in Indonesia and stuff like that, where we've done prayer ceremonies to help out, that people can come together and do the distance healing ceremonies and Earthkeeper work at the same time, and we might even get technologically savvy and all get together on Skype or something one of these days.
Okay. Now, do you ever get any people that are, you know, I mean, not everybody is spiritual, and some may look at it as like a, you know, like not a good, you know, maybe against their religion or just something that they don't believe in. Do you ever come across people that are like that? And how would you open a person's mind into this? Because it's really not a religion per se. It's more
no,
of
it's not a religion. I've had people who were Buddhist. I've had people who were Baptists. I've had people who were on the Native American pathway. I've had all kinds of different people, you know, and I don't really care. You know,
right.
It doesn't bother me. You know, I come from where I came from, and my base is more Native American, and they know that. And if they don't like it, then they can, you know, find some other teacher, basically.
Right.
You know, I think cream goes to the top in the law of attraction of like attracts like. So if the person doesn't believe in it and doesn't like what I'm doing, you know, fine. They can do what they're doing.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
I'm not trying to please anybody.
Okay.
I work with the people who are attracted to it, who have the desire. I believe all souls have certain life purposes they came to do. And, you know, I say prayers to attract the people who have a comparable purpose as I do.
Okay, great.
So I just attract, you know, I don't run into those kind of people, Laura.
Right.
I mean, if I do, I just laugh and.
Okay. Yeah. So, what other things do you do at the Amethyst Center? I see you have beautiful jewelry on. I understand that you make your own jewelry.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, I do sponsor other programs that come in, and it's mainly my workshops that I'm teaching and then our ceremonial cycles. But my personal way to get in my place of bliss is designing jewelry.
Okay.
And so I specialize in jewelry like this that has copper coils and little lightning bolts on it. And these are actually energy shields that protect you from the non-beneficial energy of computers and cell phones. And since I work with a lot of people who are very, very sensitive, it also protects sensitive people from picking up a lot of really yucky energy from other people.
Right.
You know. And it's actually, there was a great scientist called Nikola Tesla, and he worked with copper coils and crystals. So this is like Tesla technology in jewelry that looks pretty.
Okay. Yeah, very pretty. Now, with the different types of stones that you work with, they all represent a different type of energy or healing for people?
Yeah, they all have different qualities, and I've had people. I have an Etsy store. It's Azurae Healing Art. You have to go to Etsy. It's called Azurae Healing Art. And I had one lady. You know, she read about what I did because I just transfer my shamanic healing into the jewelry, and people say that they feel better when they wear my jewelry, and they don't get so tired. And her daughter had a seizure disorder, and asked me if I would make something for her daughter that would help her with her seizure disorder. So I knew one thing, it was labradorite. It took me a while, took me about 6 months to find the right stone to make it. And I knew there was something else out there, but I didn't know what it was. And finally I was gifted with like an encyclopedia of healing stones where you can look up a disease or an emotional problem or whatever and find the list of stones that, you know, that handles it. And I'd never seen anything like that before. So in that I found that a stone called selenite worked.
Okay.
And so I ended up making 2 necklaces, but they kind of went together, and ordered the selenite. And the mother wrote back to me and said that her daughter's seizure disorder, went from having, I don't know, like 15 seizures a week, which is a heck of a lot of seizures, to like maybe 3.
Wow.
When she was wearing the necklaces. So they work.
Wow, that's impressive. So on your Etsy website, do you put information about each of the stones that are on there?
Yeah, it tells you what each of them does, yeah, and about the technology and how I make them. And right now I think there's like 60 some different items on it and all. So it's, my jewelry making is just, you know, it's another way to practice shamanic healing art, you know, which is what I do.
Okay. And it's therapeutic for you when you're making it as well.
Oh yeah, because I get all the healing properties of the stones, and a lot of times I feel like I'm making something for somebody, but I just haven't met them yet.
Okay.
And then they show up and, oh, perfect.
Okay, great. What other things do you do?
Well, we have a Native American women's drum group called the Red Feather Medicine Singers, and we sing for healing. We started out just singing for our ceremonies, and now we've been like the headliner kind of singers at Roanoke's International Festival called Local Colors every year, which is like, you know, 30,000 people we sing.
Oh, wow.
You know? And so we sing there every year, and we were inducted into a thing called the American Indigenous Women's Drum Society. We're the only hand drumming group that is in there, which meets once a year at different places around America and Canada, and so it's Native American and Native American mutts like me, and women sing for healing, and men sing war songs and hunting songs. And so when all the women get together, there'll be 14 drums. When they get together, it is the biggest high and happy and joyous thing that you can even imagine. So that's something that I like to do a lot, is when we get together and sing.
Okay. Now I understand you make drums as well.
I make drums sometimes, but more than that, I teach people how to make their own drums. And I led a drum making workshop recently that was staged at Unity in Fairfax, I guess. And I don't know, there were 6 or 7 people that made their drums.
Okay.
And so people make their own, so they put their own blood, sweat, and tears and creativity into it.
Okay, and do you teach them American, like, drumming or chanting or whatever?
When the guy that taught me how to make it, he said, you know, you can't teach people how to make drums unless they know how to use it. So I have like a workbook with it, and we have a little workshop that teaches how to do different drum beats and how you can use that for healing. And you can also use the drum in different kind of geometrical patterns, and you could hold herbs in it and play the drum and send the energy of the herbs into the people. There's all kinds of real interesting things to do with the drums, especially the hand drums. And you know, there are things where you make like a, I almost brought my drum in, but you make like a diamond around a person, and there's different geometric forms have different healing qualities, and you can do that with a drum or rattle. So the possibilities are endless, really, with that. There's a lot more going on than just, you know, what you hear.
Just the drumming.
Yeah. And then there's songs. When we were in the Cat Society, we had like 250 different songs that we did. And now I don't remember as many, but we've got a lot of people that we've taught. So we have healing songs, and we have songs to good traveling songs, and we have you know, songs for joy, and women's song to, you know, rejoice with the divine. There's all kinds of different songs for different things. And once you really get into the whole shamanic kind of the accessing, you'll have different songs for different healing things that you're doing that brings the sonic in with your intention to send healing to somebody. Yeah, so it gets complicated, but it's fun.
It sounds interesting. So we're about to close out the show, but I have one more question. So How long does it take for somebody to become a shamanic practitioner?
Well, first of all, if somebody says they're a shaman, run the other way, because the whole idea is to be humble and be a hollow bone to let spirit work through you. But to be a shamanic practitioner, before I even said I was anything like that, it took me 7 years.
Okay.
And my apprenticeship program lasts 4 years. And then they have to be a student a year or two before that. So yeah,
Okay,
it
so
takes a while.
Okay.
But it doesn't take as long now as it used to, with the way the energy is going up on the earth. So, you know, there are no one-hit wonders. You know, it takes work.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to slip in one more question. What's been the most gratifying experience for you? Seeing the results of people who are really stressed out and having a really hard time in their life, a lot of bad luck, and those kind of things, and being able to help them get back on their path and be happy again. Okay,
you know.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you on the show. And thank you, everybody. And if you're just coming to our show right now, you can catch us on the web next week at www.potluck-online.org. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.